Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek, the original series, Season 1, Episode 29. It is the finale, in fact. If you can even use that word here, it feels kind of weird when they're all standalone episodes, but it's the final episode of the season. It is called Operation Annihilate. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, we end the season on what I will call a middle-of-the-road episode that has some good moments, has some fun ideas in there, but also has some other elements that don't work as well. I think the character stuff is what works the best in this episode.
Which often is.
That's true. And then you have some of the most, I don't want to say lazy, but some of the most like sort of simple and silly monster designs that I think we've had. It was basically a fried egg.
Yeah, pretty much.
But the different colours. That was basically the thing they were dealing with. So what is Operation Annihilate? What's the plot of the episode? So they're going to this planet that happens to be where Kirk's brother and his family live. So Kirk's sister-in-law, his nephew, the little family, all live on this planet. And there's some creepy stuff on the way there. This ship basically goes close to the sun to, like, basically commit suicide, seemingly. That's what it looks like at first. The Enterprise tries to chase them. It doesn't quite get... obviously, it starts to get too hot. That ship just gets destroyed. They turn back, obviously. They go to the planet and see, okay, what the hell's going on? What's happening? And they go down, and everyone is mysteriously not on the streets. Everyone's hiding inside the buildings. And they eventually come across some people who attack them, but as they're attacking them, shout out loud, "Please, we don't want to hurt you, go away." So, as Spock points out, their actions and their words don't quite match up. It's like they're warning them, "No, go away," as if they're not in control. It obviously is clearly implication. And they encounter, of course, his brother's already dead. His brother's wife is dying. The son is sick with whatever's going on, and quite quickly it's okay. There's some sort of virus, there's some sort of thing going on, and eventually the crew find these fried egg alien things, which later on it turns out are all parts of a brain. They're one like brain nerve each. Is the idea. This is, I actually kind of appreciated how big the sets were on the planet. Like, it felt like, oh no, we're actually kind of between buildings and there's a street. They actually found a place.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like when they get attacked at the underpass, it's like, oh, there's space. It feels real.
It felt like civilization. There were some science fiction-y things put behind like a gate to make it look more futuristic, but it was, it was like a real place somewhere.
Yeah, it felt like, oh, this is actually a society.
Yeah. Other than the fact, of course, that we see almost... I mean, obviously it's in the plot that they're all hiding because these things, as it turns out later, are scared of light. They're light sensitive, so they're all hiding inside. But it feels a little bit convenient because, it means we don't have to show a lot of extras. They're all hiding. They're all hiding in the buildings. It's fine. But the moment for me where... So as much as I appreciate all that stuff, and I feel like, oh yeah, they got a good location and all that, I did think it was extremely odd and possibly very cheap that the only time we ever actually see these fried egg aliens is in this same room that's got like a little sort of archway, and the aliens are stuck to the archway. Because even later on in the episode when they come back down, or when Spock comes back down later on, and they're still the same place.
It's where they breed.
And it just kind of felt like, well, this is the one the entire planet's apparently been taken over by these things, but no, this is the one location.
It's got some shade. Light's not hitting them in there.
It's the only place that's got shade in it, is it?
Exactly. Yeah.
So is that?
It's the only one.
Okay. So basically, when they find these things, Spock gets infected by whatever it is, attaches onto his back for a little bit, then it leaves, but it's implanted something. So a little bit of alien, facehuggery-esque thing going on there, which is a weird thing to reference, of course, because that didn't exist yet, but kind of like that, a little bit Invasion of the Body Snatchers-esque-ish.
Yeah.
And basically, the idea is that this thing takes over, takes control, causes immense pain to force the body to do what it wants, and it's left all these things in their spinal column, and there's no way to take them off. McCoy's doing all these tests, trying to figure it out, and nothing seems to kill it, nothing seems to separate it. Nothing, even stuff that would kill the host still wouldn't kill we'll call it parasite inside the body. And a lot of the episode is sort of trying to figure this out. And Kirk throughout the episode gets more agitated. He's clearly more concerned on a personal level than usually, because he's his brother's family is dying. There's like one of them left, the nephew's left, and he's dying.
Yeah, this bothers me a little bit because it feels really cheap and throwaway to just go, oh, it's his brother, it's his family. It seems like a cheap way to make us care. And even as McCoy points out to him, it's like, yeah, but there's a whole planet full of people you should be worried about, and he's just focused on his family. And I don't know, wasn't really working for me.
It's fair that it's not working, but I think what you just said there is why they did it. It wasn't so much that, oh, it's so we'll care. I think it's more for the, okay, we want Kirk to go through a specific set of, like, a conflict. It makes it personal to him, because obviously later on in the episode when they're talking about it on the ship, and they say that, look, if we can't solve this, if we can't like kill this parasite in the body, we have to destroy the civilization. We have to destroy the planet. We have to kill everyone down there so it doesn't spread to elsewhere. And I'm guessing there then it's like, for Kirk there's like a personal thing there.
I guess it's just the idea of this is a symptom of its time, but this brother that we'd never heard about before and now is dead, and it's just like just this family pops up out of nowhere, and we're supposed to care.
Oh sure, like it would help if we'd heard about them before. And not even seen them, just heard about them. Like, oh, I've got a brother doing stuff over here or whatever.
It's honestly, I say it's a product of its time. It's something that we still see happen now that we complain about.
Yeah. It didn't bother me too much. I mean, I agree that it is just like, it's not, it's just thrown in here in this episode.
I don't feel it really adds anything, because I think it gets brought up and mentioned, like I said, when McCoy Brent does that, but it never really goes with it. It never really follows that arc for Kirk. It just kind of falls by the wayside a lot for me.
Maybe it doesn't follow the arc. It does definitely affect him early on, because there's a scene where he snaps at Uhura when she can't get through on the comms. I think this is actually before anything even he knows what's going on. This is just when they're up in the ship and they're trying to contact him and they can't get through, and he's concerned because his family's down there and he doesn't know what's happening to them. But that was effective to me, because I don't think we'd ever heard him snap quite like that.
No, I think it was all right early on in the episode, like you say, but the further on it got, it just sort of forgot about it.
Because for me, once the episode got going, though, it definitely flipped into more of a Spock-centric episode, because Spock gets infected. And he initially, it takes over him, and he breaks out the med bay, and he goes up to the the bridge, and he tries to like take over things, and then they calm him down, and then eventually Spock's like, okay, I'm fighting it back because I'm half Vulcan. I can fight this. Pain's all in your head. I can fight this. And at first, I actually thought this was a ploy. He was just trying to convince them that it was okay, so that he could go back to whatever he was trying to do when he was, being controlled. But no, as it goes on, it turns out, no, he is actually genuinely fighting it, and he's genuinely trying to help and figure out what to do. And they come up with different plans, they do these different things. There's a lot of debating going on. Again, do we kill all these people? And Kirk obviously doesn't want to. No one wants to. But it's a very real possibility. Really, the episode, I think, has its best moments. Because, like I say, the actual threat is kind of goofy. It feels a little bit, hit or miss. Like you say, the family drama stuff has its moments, but again, hit and miss. It's later on in the episode when they basically realise, okay, Kirk's insistent, now there has to be another answer. We've tried everything, we've tried heat, because they know that the sun killed it. Like, that ship that went there, like, whatever happened, the person who was on that ship got free from the thing just before he died. They know that. And he insists, we need to find something, we need to find what it is, and I actually guessed what it was, like, admittedly I'd seen this a couple of years ago, but like I'd forgotten, like I didn't remember it, but it was just as he was talking, there has to be something else. I'm like, well, the light. You're talking about heat, you've tried radiation, try a light.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Especially since they're all hiding in buildings down on the planet, like, it makes sense that
it does.
It might be light. It gets their creative juices flowing, and McCoy breaks out these fancy goggles.
Do you know what was cracking me up about these goggles? You could see the rubber band to put it around the head on the inside of the goggles, but they just weren't putting them on, they were just holding them up.
I never noticed that, but I was actually about to crack a joke that it's kind of weird that this futuristic set of goggles doesn't have any sort of way of attaching it to your head. Because, I mean, I think that's the implication. I mean, as much as you could see it.
I can see it. You're not meant to,
yeah. I was like, really? You just might hold it? Like, all these years?
Yeah, what, now you've got one hand. Like, rubber band worked fine for decades.
Centuries even by this point.
That is true.
um, but yeah, so they're trying these different things. They're testing on it, and eventually they do kill one of the fried eggs, and they're like, okay, Spock, you can go in there. But the problem is though, is that if this works on you, we can't just give goggles to everyone on the planet. So we have to get it to work without the goggles. So Spock's like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's just go in. Let's do it. And sure enough, they fire the light at it, or at him, and he comes out and he's blind, but he is cured.
Yeah.
And it's this waitful, and obviously Spock being Spock is not being emotional about the whole thing. He's just kind of like, no, matter of fact, though, this is we've solved it.
This was one of those moments where I didn't remember anything about this episode. Like, I don't think it's particularly memorable. But the moment where he walks out and he walks in something and he goes, "Oh, I'm also quite blind."
Yeah,
it's his delivery of that line. It was stuck in my head. So before he says it, I know exactly how he's going to say it.
Yeah. Honestly, my favorite moment or my favorite sort of section of this episode is, so after this, the nurse or whatever comes in and says, "Oh, it's not actually all the light; it's just the one specific kind. You didn't have to actually blind them."
Yeah.
And there's this guilt on McCoy's face, and then there's also almost this anger from Kirk. Like Kirk, even though he doesn't want to.
Why didn't you think of this?
Yeah, he's like blaming him. He's almost being the harsh captain and looking down on his crew and saying, "You should have thought of that. You should have had that idea in your head." And there's this genuine tension between Kirk and McCoy. And McCoy doesn't even fight back because he looks so guilty. And,
yeah, he's the same. He's like, I should have thought of that.
Yeah, and Spock's like, no, I agree to this. We both, like, him being purely, because Spock as well probably should have thought of this.
Yeah, he's a smart man.
Yeah, he has the knowledge to think of these things. And for me, this entire thing was where the episode got interesting, because it was like, okay, we're exploring something new with this trio, our core trio that we always come back to. We've not really seen them have this legitimate reason to feel this guilty about something they've done to the other. And it really, especially since it's McCoy and it's him failing as a doctor, that he didn't quite, he made the wrong choice, even if Spock did agree to it. Now obviously it is kind of brushed away really quickly, because after the cure the planet, everyone's happy, fixed, Kirk's still sitting there, and McCoy comes back, and to be fair, like, Kirk, now that the time has passed, he's dealt with the problem, he does actually say to McCoy, like, it's not your fault. And I'm glad he said that. I'm glad that there was like a sort of rebonding, getting over the issues before the reveal that, oh no, it's okay, Spock's okay.
Yeah, I think it needed that, because if it come after, it'll be like, oh well, problem's over, so it's fine.
It would have felt like a get out of jail free card, and even though it still kind of is, because they weren't going to keep Spock blind, but for Kirk's character, it would have felt a little bit sour if he blamed McCoy and then never forgave him. But he did. He said, it's not your fault. Like, I was being rash, I was being angry, and I think Kirk understood that throughout this whole situation, he was not really being captainly, shall I say.
Yes.
He was, letting his emotions sort of get the better of him. He was getting agitated, so on. At least there's some fun humour at the end where, Spock cracks some jokes about how the first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was McCoy leaning over him, and McCoy's cracking a joke about how, well, I can't fix it if you can't see true beauty when you see it. So.
Yeah.
But no,
I do wish that we'd had more time with Spock blind. Like, I think if it had happened a bit earlier in the episode, I think there was potential for that to really be explored.
Yeah. A lot of it was dealt with finding out what's going on, and then like finding these alien creatures, and maybe a little bit too much time caring about this nephew that we don't really know. And as much as I did like the location when they went down, when it did feel like there was a lot of time spent wandering around down there.
Yeah.
And I like that in theory. Like, I think the mystery of what's happening would be cool if it was actually more of a mystery. But once they find the egg things, it's like, okay, we get exactly what's going on. That's
it. And then from then, there's still a lot of time where it's just it's a typical episode.
Like, yeah, I think see if it didn't go down that path. Had the whole thing been a mystery where they're on the planet and they're trying to find people and find why they're hiding. If the whole thing had been like that, that'd have been cool.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
But instead, it shifted gears. So because it shifted gears, it feels like they spent too much time doing it in the first place. So
Yeah, if it was kind of a point like if you're just going to reveal it now this soon anyway,
yeah.
why are we bothering?
So no, so it's a mixed bag. It's not. It's definitely not the worst of the season by any means. There's a lot of quality things in here to enjoy, but it's also not the best. I'd say it's firmly in the middle of the
Yeah,
pack.
yeah, definitely. It is right there, isn't it?
Especially since we just had two pretty great episodes back to back.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. So there you go. That is the final episode of season 1 of Star Trek: The Original Series. We will do a season wrap up video, which will not count as next week's Star Trek episode. We'll do that as an extra in between before we get to season 2's episode. Where we're just going to pick some favourites, pick some worst, that kind of thing, and maybe just talk about the season as a whole a little bit, and just reflect. Just reflect. But yeah, so that is us. That is the season finale, if you want to call it that. So let us know what you think of Operation Annihilate in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. One of the perks over there, if you do sign up, is you get these Star Trek reviews a week early, so that's pretty fun. But otherwise, guys, that is us. So thank you very much once again for watching. Keep watching TV, and we'll see you next time.